This is Radioonfire.com. Yours truly, Diamond K, in here. Thank you for joining me. Of course, we're broadcasting from the Radioonfire studios here in Baltimore, Maryland. And, there's a story here in Baltimore that I want to get into. A Frederick Douglass High School staff member was shot on Friday afternoon by an adult visitor to the Baltimore City School. So for people that are here in the city, Frederick Douglass High School is a school that's across the street from a popular shopping mall called Mondawmin Mall. It's right near Coppin State College. And, you know, when you hear of activities like this taking place in Baltimore, many people are not surprised when things come down from that area. The infamous riots sparked off in that general vicinity, and it's a great community, but just like many other urban hubs, it's not without its challenges. And so city police say that Neil Davis, 25 years old, got inside the front door of the school, and then he was confronted by a 56-year-old special education assistant who was shot. Now, of course, on the surface, when this story first broke, I said that there had to be something going on here, because the Neil Davis meant to shoot the staff member of Douglass. It was not a random act. It was intended for him. Ironically, the staff member was taking a shock trauma and was in serious but stable condition. Last update that I got about him. So the individual, as I said, entered the school, never actually penetrated the school. This is like right at the front door vestibule area of the school. So the staff member that confronted him is someone, as I said, that he was intending to have a conversation with. The suspect has a relative, a Frederick Douglass student that apparently had some type of encounter with the victim. So the person, as I said, the person who was shot had some type of encounter with a family member of Mr. Davis. So there was actually some type of a parent-teacher conference that was going on, or that was, supposed to happen. So whatever it was, we don't know just yet what caused this. I just wish that it did not result in him getting shot. Like, if they had to have a physical conversation or a confrontation, I wish it had been that as opposed to shooting. If it had to get physical, I just wish that it didn't go down the way that it did. So we don't know what was the issue. What was the accusation? What was it that Mr. Davis was so upset about that he had to handle this right at that moment? That part we don't know yet. And hopefully that part will come out. As I said, staff member in serious but stable condition. Suspect, the suspect, Mr. Davis, in custody. And a letter went out to families on Friday. And the victim is a longtime employee of the Baltimore City school system. And the CEO of schools said that this incident will shake us all deeply. In a city where violence is too present, our schools must be havens of safety and peace, where confrontation and weapons have no place. Definitely, I understand what she's trying to say. But I can speak all day about the condition of Baltimore City schools. As I said, this encounter happened in the lobby area. There were officers nearby in the main office, and they were able to engage and apprehend the suspect without incident because he did what he wanted to do. He came there for a reason, and that reason was accomplished. Governor Larry Hogan said that he was closely monitoring the situation at Douglas. The state stands ready to provide any support necessary to the school, community, law enforcement, and first responders. As much as I dislike things that Governor Hogan has done lately, he has been trying to say and do the right things. So, in the coming days, the district will review safety and security protocols for all schools. This is what she says. Now, this shooting comes a little more than 2 weeks after the city school board voted unanimously against supporting state legislation that would allow officers to be armed on school property while classes were in session. So a lot of people having their thoughts about that. And it's ironic that this situation happens. I don't think that whether or not they were armed or not would have made a difference in this situation. Had the officers been armed, maybe Mr. Davis would have done this confronting of the staff member differently at a different time in I don't know, in the parking lot or some other kind of way. That doesn't mean, and then let's also keep in mind that they got him in custody without incident, and he had a gun. So, whether or not the officers were armed, that just may have resulted in loss of life when it was not necessary. He had a gun. He discharged the weapon to the torso of a staff member who was in the vestibule area. And if the officers in the main office had guns and they came out and shot Mr. Davis, I don't see how that's a win. You know what I mean? So on the flip side of it, this is a rare situation. A lot of times in these situations where you had the officer that had a gun in Florida where he was hiding behind, he was hiding because he was outgunned or whatever. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be situations where you say, oh, if a gun was here or if the gun was there or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm all for safety and all that. I just don't know if this is the best situation to represent the people that are pro-gun. We've always maintained that weapons are not for students to use against students, School Union President Sergeant Clyde Boatwright said. Unfortunately for this situation, we predicted that this would happen, that someone from the outside would come into the building and injure someone in the school. Mr. Boatwright has been here to Radioonfire and spoke his thoughts about police being armed in school, and he feels that they should be. And I'd like to speak with him at a later date about that. But as I said, he's given his thoughts, and a lot of people feel that different thoughts on that. This is a very controversial subject, which we will be talking about, I'm sure, for much time to come. Another thing that came out of this situation is that after the results of Friday's situation at Douglas, there has been a murder charge added to Mr. Davis. Detectives took control of the investigation, and subsequently Davis was charged with first-degree murder with a related firearm violation. So this is going back to November 2018, where officers were called to the 4600 block of York Road at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon for a reported shooting. Now, when the police arrived, they found Darrell Yancey suffering from multiple gunshots. Yancey was transported to Johns Hopkins Hospital, where he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. And they are tracing this murder to the weapon that Mr. Davis had on him at Douglas on Friday. So this situation is continuously evolving. Are you for police, school police, being armed or not? That is a question. I want to put it out there to the listeners. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at The Diamond K Show, at Radioonfire. Should school police have guns? That's what we're going to talk about in the next segment.